for joining us today and welcome to an overview of the District of Central Saanich Draft Official Community Plan. My name is Jarrett Matanowicz. I'm the Director of Planning and Building Services at the district, and I'm joined by Andrew Picard, who is our lead planner on this project. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are within the traditional territories of the WSÁNEĆ peoples. So before we get into the details of our draft official community plan, we wanted to provide you with an overview of what an OCP is. So what is an official community plan? Well, it's a long-term vision for our community with objectives and policies that help achieve that vision. It covers a wide range of topics in our community, many of which are part of our daily lives. The OCP helps us address topics like community character and maintaining that community character, agriculture and food security, housing and growth management, protecting our natural environment and addressing climate action, our economy, parks, trails and recreation, transportation and infrastructure, community services and institutional uses, heritage and culture, and emergency services. The current official community plan was adopted in 2008. The purpose of this update is to ensure that it reflects current values and priorities. It also is attempting to integrate a number of existing plans and work that was done over the last few years into the OCP, such as our active transportation plan and our residential infill intensification project. The OCP is to prepare us for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Some of the key policy changes and focus areas of this OCP include climate action and integrating climate policies throughout the OCP. There was a focus on the Keating Business District and developing a vision for the Keating business area. In terms of First Nations, acknowledging their history and advancing truth and reconciliation. This slide presents the OCP project timeline and some of the engagement we did. You can see from the red circle that we're currently in phase 3 of this project. However, in earlier phases of this project, we engaged with the community. We established our OCP advisory committee, which is made up of residents, and we meet throughout the project on a monthly basis as we continue to advance towards OCP bylaw drafting. We've met with the WSÁNEĆ Leadership Council. We've met with external stakeholders, including the business community, residents, and environmental groups. We held a survey earlier on in this process where we gathered your information about big issues in the community, visioning and developing our principles and what's important to the community, so it would help us draft policy. We met with Stelli's secondary school students and did a conversation toolkit with them and provided presentations. We held an online session for the public with an expert panel. And we held a WSÁNEĆ People's Forum where members of the WSÁNEĆ Nation met and discussed concerns and opportunities for our official community plan. So we're now in phase 3 of this project, where we have drafted the official community plan to an 80% completion, and we're looking for your input. We mailed a brochure out to every address in the community to help inform people of this project and ways and opportunities to get involved. We have a survey that is open from February 1st to March 6th, where you can provide your direct input into this project. We are holding a WSÁNEĆ Leadership Council meeting and presenting the project to the WSÁNEĆ Leadership Council to receive their input. We're meeting with the Tsartlip and Tsawo't First Nation Band Council to hear their input on this project. There are online information sessions, these ones that you're involved in now, from February 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We're continuing to have external stakeholder meetings with business groups, residences, environmental groups, and others. We will be referring this project to external agencies, including our adjacent local governments, the regional district, and provincial agencies. And we're continuing to work with our official community plan advisory committee to advance this project. So moving into the final phase of this project, what does that look like? So we have public engagement during phase 3 is currently open until March 6th. After we receive input from the community, there will be further revisions to the draft OCP based on that feedback. The draft OCP will be reformatted with graphics and imagery and photos. And then we enter into the council process, and it's anticipated that the draft OCP will be presented to council in April. We will have a public hearing where council will hear directly from the public about our OCP. Council may request further revisions or more information on this OCP, and then ultimately the bylaw will be adopted. So we are now getting into the more details of the draft official community plan. And this is an OCP snapshot. So what's the same with our existing official or new official community plan? The overall policy approach to land use is remaining the same. We're protecting and enhancing the rural and small town character of our community. We're remaining strong in protecting agricultural lands and supporting farming. And the urban containment boundary remains the same. What's new in the draft official community plan? Well, a key focus of this OCP throughout the document is relationships with First Nations and advancing truth and reconciliation. We have a new climate action section with climate action policies throughout the document. There's a new good governance section, a new implementation section. We've developed a vision for the Keating Business District in our economic section. There are 3 future growth areas that have been identified to transition to a higher density. A number of existing plans that we have worked on over the last few years have been incorporated and are referenced in this document, including our active transportation plan, integrated stormwater management plan, and the Saanich Village design plan. During the early phases of this project, we engaged with the community about a vision for Central Saanich. Building on this input and the strong community character of Central Saanich, the following vision was drafted.
Central Saanich is a community where residents value our great natural beauty and rolling rural landscapes with active agriculture that coexist in harmony with vibrant, compact villages. Located within a growing metropolitan region, Central Saanich has maintained its rural and small town character with a strong sense of community pride and neighborly residents that welcome diversity. The district is a leader in climate action, and the natural environment benefits from peninsula-wide collaboration with WSÁNEĆ nations, other municipalities, businesses, and community organizations to minimize negative impacts on the environment, our waterways, and marine shorelines. The built environment supports a healthy community that is active, vibrant, and inclusive, with a road, trail, and open space network that prioritizes active transportation. A diverse housing stock located within walking distance to services or public transit supports residents of a range of ages, incomes, and abilities to age in place and thrive within the community. We have established strong, respectful working relationships with WSÁNEĆ nations. The economy is thriving with a variety of local businesses supported by the community.
The following principles support the overall vision and guide the policies of the official. The principles include maintaining rural, small town character, managing growth carefully, demonstrating climate leadership, protect and enhance the environment, biodiversity, and natural ecosystems, advance First Nations truth and reconciliation, support agriculture and food security, provide a range of housing opportunities and protect housing affordability, support local business and community economic development, ensure mobility and transportation systems for all, foster a sense of community, and respond to community needs. During the OCP review, we engaged with the WSÁNEĆ Leadership Council Technical Committee and will continue to do so. With their input, specific policy was drafted focusing on First Nation matters. The introduction section of our OCP includes WSÁNEĆ history and impacts of colonial settlement. The document highlights that in 2016, the district adopted the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. A fundamental principle in the document is to advance First Nations truth and reconciliation. The Heritage and Culture section includes various policies supporting WSÁNEĆ culture and the various initiatives. Our Good Governance section also includes various policies on building strong relationships and improving collaboration. The next policy topic area I'll get into is growth management and housing. Housing policies were updated in 2020 through our residential infill and densification project. So there are less changes in the housing policy section. However, there are a few key areas to highlight. 3 areas that have been identified for future growth by a change in land use designation mapping. And these will be discussed in further detail in the following slides. But it should be noted that there are no changes to the zoning of these areas. Reflecting these areas, the policy recognizes that there will be a transition over time and will consider land assembly being anticipated. So you have larger lots for more high density development. The highest density would be oriented towards the major roads. There will be a sensitive transition to adjacent single family homes. And where there are gateway intersections in our community, it requires landmark architectural features. In terms of future projects and implementation, we want to update our accessibility regulations, and this will be following provincial changes to legislation. In terms of advocacy, we'll continue to advocate to the province and federal governments to increase funding for affordable and rental housing. This next slide shows the updated land use designation map, which helps guide land use in the district. This is an area where we collaborated with peninsula municipalities to have some consistency in land use designation and color schemes. The approach to land use generally remains unchanged, with the exception of a few focus areas, which we will provide more detail on the following slides. There are no changes to the urban containment boundary, and all areas previously designated for agriculture remain the same. This next slide is one of the focus areas where there is a change in growth management and densification proposed. This is the Sandyston Village. Within this area, the intent is to support more commercial mixed use and multi-unit developments within our core area, one of our village centers. This aligns with the Sandyston Village Design Plan, which was completed in 2021, and that previous plan does inform this land use designation change. The next area to focus on is the Dignan Road area. It's proposed here that this area transition to a higher density, and this was identified prior to commencing this OCP project. This area is located adjacent to existing multi-unit development and close to the Brentwood Bay Village. The next area of focus is the Keating and Central Saanich area. It is proposed that this area transition from predominantly single-family dwellings to higher density development over time. This would support increased density in the form of apartments or townhouses. This area is close to the Keating Business District. It's close to a park, a school, and transit. It would support housing for workers in the Keating Business District. And the fourth area to discuss is, in terms of growth management, is the Turgis area. Now, this change is not for a transition to housing, but instead is to support the inclusion of ground floor commercial uses when this area is redeveloped. And this is to support the increase in residential development that is occurring in the Marigold area. Now, the next policy area we'll focus on is agriculture. The draft OCP is very strong in protecting and supporting farming in our community. We encourage diversification in farming operations, support continued efforts to improve storm drainage on agricultural lands. There are more policies on promotion and farm marketing. And this plan references the priority actions in the 2011 Agriculture Area Plan. In terms of advocacy, advocate to BC assessment on farm status matters. We wanted to continue to work with the CRD on bulk water rates and advocate to the provincial and federal governments to review the golden nematode restrictions. The next area of focus is our rural lands. Currently, our rural lands only have one land use designation, but it does not recognize the diversity of our rural landscape in the community. We are proposing to update the rural designations based on the diversity of our rural areas. The diversity of our rural areas is recognized based on 3 distinct areas, one being forest. Now, these are areas within a forested landscape or abutting forested parkland, creating a wildland urban interface, and often within the erosion district, indicating that there are steep slopes in the area. The second areas are shoreline areas. These areas have direct access to shoreline, both on the east and west side of the peninsula, or they are located on the west side of Saanich Road. In terms of agriculture, the third area of rural designation, these are varying areas of rural pockets throughout the district that may include areas zoned for agriculture that are not within the agricultural land reserve. In addition, another policy to highlight in our rural areas is encouraging property owners to allow Wasanich Nations access for traditional harvesting and gathering. Focusing more on our rural diversity in the community. So there are 3 distinct areas that I identified, and we'll focus on rural forest first. So you can see the green circles on the map. These are the areas that would be designated for rural forest. Again, these are areas with forested landscapes, often with steep slopes. Highlighting the Mount Newton area, primarily to the north, the larger green circle, as well as the Garden Gate area to the south. The next map, highlighting our rural diversity, is rural shoreline. So you can see the blue circles highlighting that area. So the rural shoreline are existing rural shoreline areas, and they are characterized by large rural properties with sensitive forest and shoreline environments. And the third rural designation or category is rural agriculture, as you can see with the orange circles on the map. These are existing pockets of agriculture outside of the agricultural land reserve where farming is supported. The next policy topic area to get into is economic development. A key focus of this OCP and is retaining the 3 main commercial areas in our district, including the village of Saanich, the village of Brentwood Bay, and the Keating Business District. In this OCP, we also recognize 4 existing small commercial nodes, and we'll get into more detail on those small commercial nodes in the next slides. There's policy support for collaboration and support for Wasanich business initiatives. We encourage businesses to aid in advancing truth and reconciliation. We have developed a vision for the Keating Business District, which we will also go over in the next slides. There are policies to ensure industrial uses remain a priority in the Keating Business District. In terms of implementation and future work, we want to consider land use bylaw amendments to support redevelopment and intensification of the Keating Business District. This could include such things as allowing for increased height in the Keating area. We want to encourage farm gate sales and develop policies and regulations to support them. This next slide shows the 4 existing commercial nodes that are now identified in our proposed official community plan. These are all existing nodes. However, in the current OCP, they are not recognized in any way. So within the urban containment boundary, the first one we'll discuss, which is on the left-hand side of the slide, is a Verdier node. And this area has a strong connection to marine uses, the BC Ferry Dock and early settlement neighborhood of Moodyville. The Verdier node is envisioned as an area where an eclectic mix of architecture, signage, and public art supports a marine aesthetic. A range of unique shops serve both ferry traffic and the community. Although some infill development is envisioned in this area, growth is constrained by the current pattern of development and pressures on the road network. The next area to discuss, and the next node, is at the corner of Central Saanich Road and Island View Road, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide. This node has fewer historic commercial uses, but more community services such as the Lions Hall, Keating Elementary, and a seniors care facility. The Island View node is within walking distance and biking distance to the Keating Business District and is served by public transit. While some increased residential density is envisioned, the extent of growth is limited by adjacent agricultural lands, as well as topographical challenges. The next is the Turgoose node, which is in the right-hand top corner by the Mount Newton Crossroad and the Pape Highway. The Turgoose node is a neighborhood that includes existing auto-oriented uses and is undergoing a transition from the former garden nursery to smaller scale commercial uses with significant growth in housing units. The Turgoose node is highly accessible and is close to public transit and the Lochside Regional Trail. It is envisioned that this area be for increased residential density and additional commercial uses to serve the surrounding neighborhood, including the Sayout First Nations. And the fourth area to discuss is the Keating Crossroad and West Saanich Road corner. And this area is outside of the urban containment boundary. The West Keating node is a site of historic tourist-oriented commercial uses that has seen the addition of the Keating Fire Hall and limited residential densification. The West Keating node is envisioned to retain limited commercial uses, including mixed-use developments based on current land use designations, but is not envisioned to be an area for growth. In this node, preference will be given to tourist-oriented uses and high-quality architecture design as an important gateway to Central Saanich. We have also drafted a new vision for the Keating Business District.
The Keating Business District is recognized as an important driver of economic activity and employment serving Central Saanich, neighboring municipalities, and the region. Central Saanich's vision for the Keating Business District is principally a light industrial area that supports and is supported by the local business community. Businesses are flexible and able to respond to and capitalize on shifting trends within the industrial sector, and remaining within the Keating Business District allows for business growth and expansion. Innovative and eco-friendly industries thrive and demonstrate leadership by providing opportunities and partnerships with more traditional industrial businesses to address current issues. Industrial lands are developed in such a way as to provide a broader range of site sizes, more innovative uses of multi-level industrial buildings, and the efficient use of lands and access routes, and options for property ownership through strata development or other legal agreements.
The next policy area we'll focus on is parks and open space. In the draft OCP, we have included new policies to address park dedication, the Panorama Recreation Center, and potential commercial uses within the park system where appropriate. Collaborate with different agencies, the Saanich Nations, and private businesses to deliver recreational services and cultural programming. There are many policies on design, accessibility, and environmental protection within our park system. In terms of implementation and future projects, it's proposed that we develop a parks master plan. And in the OCP, there's a list of considerations to incorporate into that plan. We'd like to develop a tree strategy for managing public trees in our community, both in our parks and boulevards. We'd also like to develop a parks and trails signage and promotion program to promote the wonderful parks services in the district. In terms of advocating, so we'd like to advocate to the CRD to maintain and enhance the Island View campsites and the boat ramp at Island View, and safe access and improvements to the Lochside Regional Trail. Next, we'll get into our environmental policy areas. There are numerous policies in this topic area which focus on collaboration between peninsula municipalities. We want to consider our natural assets and develop an inventory for the natural assets in our community. We want to do, and we have identified and protect culturally significant and sensitive areas and incorporate Saanich place names, traditional ecological knowledge, and methods to protect ecosystems. It's proposed that we develop a land management plan for Neighbor Flats. We included considerations for the Saanich Peninsula Harbors and Waterways Initiative, which is a regional and peninsula initiative focusing on marine environmental protection. The plan works towards establishing baseline data to develop environmental targets and monitoring, so we can assess our environmental health and quality as we move forward. In terms of implementation, it's proposed that we undertake studies such as mapping shoreline features, identifying existing levels of disturbance, map marine waters and sensitive ecosystems, and establish baselines for tree canopy coverage and forest health. Climate action. This was a significant focus of this official community plan review. And there are objectives and policies that address climate action throughout this OCP. We've incorporated the district's climate leadership plan and many of the action items out of that plan into the OCP. The climate action section focuses on a few key areas, including transportation and land use, buildings, solid waste, and municipal operations. Adaptation policies include establishing construction levels for coastal flood inundation, building on a CRD project, planned retreat strategies, as well as fire smart measures in the wildfire interface areas. In terms of implementation in the climate action section, projects include consider consolidating solid waste services to reduce overall truck trips and distances, undertake climate risk and vulnerability assessments, develop a community-wide climate change adaptation strategy, and develop municipal operations climate change strategy. The next topic area is heritage and culture. The OCP recognizes Indigenous history and the WSÁNEĆ nations throughout. Various policies to support WSÁNEĆ efforts in language revitalization, public art, and cultural protection. We continue to support heritage conservation in our community. There are policies on supporting cultural events, public art, and new facilities to support these cultural aspects. There's promotion of public education and local heritage awareness. In terms of implementation, we want to update and modernize our heritage inventory. We want to develop a public art policy and also incorporate Tsimshian language into public signage in our community. Transportation is the next policy area to focus on. The district undertook a major study called our Active Transportation Plan, which was completed in 2021. And this OCP has incorporated much of the policy and direction from that plan into this document. There's a large focus on active transportation improvements and pedestrian safety. We promote Central Saanich as a bike destination. Public transit policies reinforce BC Transit initiatives to improve regional and local service. Road network policies include a complete streets approach. There's more support for park and ride facilities as part of the rapid bus network. And in terms of implementation, promote our electric vehicle and electric biking by advancing actionable items from the district's EV strategy. We want to undertake a study to improve the two Saanich intersections at Mount Newton Crossroad. Municipal infrastructure is another important topic, and it relates strongly to growth management. We want to ensure infrastructure services consider the long-term sustainability and resiliency. We also identified the next anticipated major projects, two of which include, in terms of roads, the Keating flyover and pedestrian improvements on Central Saanich Road. And in terms of sewer, the Brentwood Force Main. And this also includes road improvements as we do these projects. In terms of cycling and active transportation, we want to continue to advance stormwater management, including agricultural drainage. Road improvements will focus on active transportation infrastructure and accessibility. And in terms of implementation, we want to update our asset management plan, as well as update our water distribution master plan and sewer master plan. Good governance is a new policy area and section in the official community plan. And it includes policies for how the district conducts its business operations and where the district plays a role in the delivery of services. It acknowledges a key role that local nonprofit organizations play in the delivery of services in our community. It includes policies on improved public engagement, relationship building, institutional and community services, community safety, and emergency preparedness. There's advocacy policies to the province to develop a master plan for the Saanich Peninsula Hospital and to increase the level of primary health care. Also to the province and to the federal governments to endorse a $10 a day childcare program. As I mentioned, there's also a new policy section on implementation. This new section is to outline how the OCP is implemented over time and to identify all of the future projects that are identified in the official community plan. The policies work towards monitoring and reporting our programs. We want to ensure the OCP and regulatory documents are kept current. Future projects are identified to assist with strategic planning, prioritizing budget, and resource allocation. So that provides an overview of the draft official community plan, but what are some of the next steps and where are we today? So please visit letstalkcentralsaanich.ca/OCP, which is our project webpage. And on that page, you can view and read through the draft official community plan. Please take the survey before March 6th. It's also available in hard copy at the Municipal Hall. And we really do encourage you to take this survey. Your input is valuable to this process. Also, feel free to email district staff or call the planning department at any time if you have questions about this project. So just moving through next steps towards completion. Following phase 3, we'll be moving to phase 4, which we're calling finalizing the OCP. So after we hear from the public and receive input, we'll draft a final version of the official community plan. A bylaw will be prepared for council consideration, and we're anticipating this to occur in April. We'll be scheduling a public hearing where council will hear directly from the community about the official community plan. Following that, there may be some revisions to the OCP based on council and public input that occurs. And we'll be moving towards final adoption in May or June of this year. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today, and please feel free to contact us and visit our project website and get engaged in the official community plan review of Central Saanich. Thank you very much.